It is now 2 o'clock, so we'll get started. Just to echo Shane's sentiment there, thank you all for joining us today for today's webinar, The Bottom Line Boost, How Prepless Washing Maximizes Efficiency and Profitability. This was something that Shane presented at the car wash show as a pitch session in one of those 20-minute windows on the show floor. Certainly, we know that not everybody's always able to attend those, and we had really good feedback from the people that did attend. So we wanted to make this open to a larger audience, or to share it again for those who may have been able to attend but didn't get a chance to see the whole thing or didn't get a chance to keep all the information. So again, thank you for joining us today. If at any point you have any questions during the webinar, just submit them through the Q&A. We'll circle back to them probably at the end unless there's something that really needs to be addressed immediately where Shane might jump in and answer that. But otherwise, we will have time for that. So if a question comes to your mind, don't wait till the very end to submit it. Just submit it whenever that pops up, and we'll be sure to get it answered at the end of the session. I am Dan St. Jacques, the marketing manager for Hoffman InnovateIT. And as I mentioned before, and as you may be very well aware, I'm joined by Shane Groff, our national sales director, who gave this presentation at the car wash show. And Shane is going to take you through this deck. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to him. So thanks again for joining. And now the show is Shane's.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining once again. So we'll get started here. As Dan had said, we did this as a pitch session on the show floor, and it was a very good session, lots of great feedback, and we just wanted to offer it up to more people, put it in a format that you can share it with your team, your employees, and such. So moving on, a little bit about our history. Hoffman InnovateIT is a branch off of Hoffman Car Washes based out of Albany, New York. We've been washing cars since 1965, family-owned, family-run business. Over the years, as vehicles changed, as the washing models changed, as the demand on each one of our systems had changed, we really identified that we needed to do some things in our process with our employees, some things with our equipment. And out of all these discussions is what really helped us start and develop Hoffman InnovateIT, which we started in 2018. So what we're going to be talking about today is one of the problems we identified in our exterior car washes. Being based out of New York, obviously, we're hit with the rising labor costs, and now many states have followed in suit with that. And, just to be clear and open, a regular line attendant at any one of our washes generally starts out on their starting day somewhere around $15.50 to $16.50 an hour. We identified that as an issue. It's an issue to our bottom line with just the profitability of the company, but also as all the other businesses were forced into raising their minimum wage, to find a young employee who's willing to work at 10-degree temperatures and be wet for 8 hours of that day, making minimum wage, is a challenge. Because they can go anywhere and work in the heat and the air conditioning in the summer, and they're nice and dry for the same money. So we have to hire people above minimum wage. And the more and more I get around and talk with a bunch of you that are on this and other customers, everybody's faced with that same problem. So that was one of the two things we felt we needed to address immediately. The other issue, and we're also, all of us are facing this, is the rising water and sewer costs. Many of us, we purchase our utilities on brokerage, and you switch from contract to contract as they run out and everything. But even going into this year, we were faced with an average of a 20% increase in the cost of water and sewer for our car washes. So that was the second biggest area we really needed to address. Luckily, going into this year, we had already addressed it, which kind of mitigated that 20% rise. But as these natural resources get depleted, we're all going to see these, and there's just going to be continual rate increases, and we have to continue to observe our car washes and decide where we can mitigate extra usages or extra costs. The answer we come up with that worked well for us that I'm presenting today is to prep less cars. Now, I'm not going to say it's prepless, one word, because we still do prep roughly 8 to 10% of the cars. A large part of that is in the wintertime here in the Northeast. Everybody thinks we're a snow removal service. Depending on the type of snow, wet, heavy, was there freezing rain involved, cold temperatures, real dry snow, we don't always have to prep it, but there are some times, especially when there's freezing rain prior to the snow, that we do have to prep the cars. And we do that with a combination of high-pressure prep guns and what we call as a hot hose, which is just city pressure with 120-degree water. Some of the other times that are really challenging, I think for all of us, is mud season. Whether it be deer hunt season in the fall or breakup season in Alaska where things are starting to melt, depending on how big your car wash is, how much equipment's in there will determine whether or not you need to prep some of those vehicles. Just to define what we see, what a prepless model is. Obviously, it's a play on words. It's two words. We want to prep less of the vehicles coming in. And there's a real combination of things that play into this. It's advancing your equipment package. It's advancing with some smart chemistry to do the heavy lifting of those soils, whether it be bugs, soils, salts, you name it. Everything we're trying to wash off of the cars. And some of the other things that benefits that we found and that really push people into this model is, you want to maximize that throughput of your car wash as many cars, in an hour, in a day that you can, and you want that to be a very consistent process, just like an assembly line. So we want to do this through automating that process. So making the switch to this process, there's several things that we've identified that you need to do. You're going to have to replace that employee and that high-pressure prep wand with a high-pressure arch. And that high-pressure arch is going to require a few things to operate it. It's going to require a high-pressure pump stand in your back room. We have identified to make this a profitable endeavor, you need to also install a reclaim system if you do not already have it. And there will be some minor additional controls to run that arch and that pump. So getting into the prepless model of the tunnel. So here's a picture of an average 100-foot tunnel that we see being built across the country. It doesn't really matter the market. This one's really popular right now. It's using a belt conveyor, a couple top brushes for top cleaning, combo side washer there with the wrap combo. So in red, you can see there's where we have opted to slide in the high pressure arch, the high pressure prepping, if you will, into the model. Now, some of you might ask, hey, why'd you pick right there? Initially, I did not. Initially, it was one of the first pieces of equipment in the tunnel. I wanted to hit those areas of the car before going into the car wash. And, just like you do when you're manually prepping, there were two negative feedbacks. One is a lot of overspray onto the employees. We had some pretty heated, unhappy employees. And two was we did still want to get the soap applications onto the dry surface of the car, not onto a fully wetted car. A couple reasons. One is it just works better and you use less chemistry, which again, helps your profitability, helps keep your cost per car down. So we opted to go into this wash process with a cleaning from the top down, which coincides with cleaning the easier parts of the vehicle first. So get the soap on first, wash that hood, windshield, roof, back window, and trunk lid. All the while, it's giving those soaps and detergents time to loosen up all the soils and dirt on the sides of the car, which is where we're really concerned about. We don't want to send a car with those solids on the rocker panels, in the wheel wells, where the spinning side brushes are going to gather it up and smear it, or worse yet, mark the sides of the car. So we throw that in there. So we've had ample amount of dwell time, we feel, from that soap through the top brush. Now we're going to high pressure wash that. And it's going to do from bumper to bumper. Depending on your length of your tunnel and the availability of space, you may opt to use one or two arches. Most oftentimes it's just like it is pictured here, one arch. It's going to turn on. It's going to do, like I said, front bumper, the sides, the wheel wells, the tires, the rocker panels, all the way down the sides of your customers' cars, and even spray the back end of the car. Now we feel we've got a great, safe opportunity to put the wraps, rockers, window brushes on the car, which you can see there with that wrap combo unit. There's many options out there. We opt for the wrap contour combo, which is actually kind of 6 brushes in ones. It's wraparounds, it's rocker brushes, and window brushes all in one nice unit. After we go through that, now we're going to get into waxes, polishes, and then, for lack of better terms, that last top brush is kind of like a buff and polish top brush. Many of you maybe use emitters for buff and polish. Same theory. It's work those detergents and polishes into the surface of the car. Then we'll come out of that. We'll fully rinse the car, do some high pressure wheel cleaning, go into our finishing rinses like drying agent, ceramic, graphene, whatever your wash might have, followed by the RO rinse on both the surface and the mirrors of the car, then go into your blower setup. So this is a very popular model, works really well, and it's proven itself time and time again. So many of you are sitting there and saying, yeah, Shane, but what you have pictured there, it won't work for me. And I'm going to give you some of the top reasons that I hear from people on the show floor or when I'm visiting their car wash or they're visiting ours. Number one objection. Heard this from many of our managers at our stores, right? Our customers, they're going to annihilate us. They're going to be screaming at us every day. They're going to go somewhere else. Well, here is some data that we pulled together from one of our washes in the Mid-Hudson Valley of New York. Wash had been open, I want to say 33 years, somewhere around there. After we took that wash, we closed it, rearranged the equipment. Like I pictured before, we threw in reclaim, we put in high-pressure pumps, and we put in high-pressure blasting. And when we reopened that wash, the customer cars were not getting prepped. So taking the data based off 18 months, after we reopened that wash, our unlimited membership at that wash was up over 163%. We were washing over 52% more cars. Our revenue's up over 70%. And our profits are up over 50%. I think we all can agree if the customers are going to throw a fit, they're going to go down the road and they're going to annihilate us. I remember one of our managers telling me that. If that were the case, these numbers would not look like they do. I mean, I think we all can agree this is customer satisfaction here. When you can close a store, change your entire model of how you're doing it, come out, and 18 months later, you're showing these increases. The next objection is, well, Shane, hey, I can't afford it. It costs too much. You're talking about adding an arch, a pump, a reclaim, a little bit of controls in my motor control center. I can't afford it. So again, data for you. I'm going to challenge you. How can you not afford to move to a model like this? So the average equipment investment for that wash was about $105,000. That's a six-figure significant investment into your existing operation. Right here, I'm showing you how you can recoup that money. We reduced roughly, on average, 80 hours of labor every week. So after 18 months, we saved $106,000 just in labor. This doesn't account for how many more cars we washed, how many more members we signed up. We had our ROI in 18 months. Everything else is just gravy. It hits the bottom line. So again, I challenge you, and I really want you guys and girls, ladies, gentlemen, to think about how can you not afford to be looking at your existing operations and or your new operations that you're greenfielding, bringing online. You really got to think of, everything in the process and how it can affect that bottom line. That's why we're all here. Here's the number. This is true data that we pulled out of one of our locations. Third objection. Well, my employees do a way better job than any equipment can. I would say if you had your A-plus employee, quite possibly, yeah, he or she could prep better than a machine. Yep, they've got the intelligence. They're using their senses, their eyes, everything to identify those spots that they need to hit with that prep wand, and they do it. Well, the fact is that every hour of every shift, we don't have that A-plus employee. I don't think any of us do. We have great employees, 600 great employees, but there's a lot of factors in there. Did they get enough sleep last night? Is it hot out? Is it cold out? So many things go on in their personal lives that affect their performance at work. The machinery, on the other hand, shows up for work every day. It's consistent. Every time the customer comes in, they're going to experience the same consistent quality. The arch and the pumps are going to run the same amount of time, give them the same quality job. And that's regardless whether there's a car in front of them, a car behind them, whether they gave the employee a tip or not. It's all the same. It's very consistent. As consumers, this is what we all strive for. It doesn't matter if we're going out to a restaurant and ordering a steak dinner. We want consistency. We don't want to go one time and get the worst dinner and go the next time and get the best dinner, or vice versa. A couple other things that this does is the efficiency. Again, data backing it. We can simplify that loading process by not prepping, which means we're loading cars more consistently, and minimizes the wait time for our customers and increases the overall throughput of your car wash. We're also replacing the freshwater prepping with a reclean compatible high pressure arch. So this is saving you some freshwater and sewer costs on your end. And by having a larger pump for the arch, isn't increasing your water consumption, which makes it a very sustainable model for you, a profitable model for you. So I ask you guys, every one of you, are you ready to go prepless? Many of us are. I'm looking at the attendee list here on the webinar. I know many of you are doing it. Think about some of your older facilities that may be 5, 10, 20 years old. Why have you not converted them over to provide the same great service that your newest washes do for your customer? So recap, going prepless. You're going to maximize 4 things. And these are the 4 things that we look at in every decision we make for our businesses every day. Efficiency, consistency, quality, and let's not forget profitability. So we're going to look here, see if we have some Q&A as I'm catching up, as Dan's going through. I want to let everybody know all of this equipment that you see on our videos, that you see in our trade show booth, that you hear me talking about all the time, you can always come to any one of our car washes for a tour and see this stuff in operation. We don't even buy a $5,000 used car for a teenager without test driving it first. So go to our website, click the schedule a tour button on our website, and come test drive some of this equipment. So one of our questions is, how do you incorporate prepless bug prep? So that is an area we've been working on, and I know several other operators that have. We're working on it with our operations team, our maintenance team, and our chemical supplier to do it in the car wash itself. There's a couple factors there that we're working through, is, hitting all parts of the grill, bumper, spoiler, headlights on something as small as a Fiat and as large as a 1-ton Silverado. We currently still are applying the bug juice through a thumb gun with our employee. Again, they're just spraying that front end and the windshield and sending it. They're not walking all the way around the car. We do know that we have some customers that are playing with spraying bug juice on the front of the car using their gates. We can't do that where we're located, because we can't let that chemical just lay on the ground or go into the stormwater. So there's a couple different areas of the country with a couple different solutions. I really hope that we can bring one to the market that works for everybody. To be honest, it's been a tough one. We have not found one that we can do that with. Our next question is about the hot hose and the application user. So our hot hose is basically a 1-inch, 120-degree hot water line, and this 1-inch hose basically just has a ball valve on the end of it. And when there's that ice frozen to the surface of the vehicle, guys will grab that, crack that ball valve open, hit that car with the hot hose, and then it breaks the adhesion to the surface of the car, and then they can use that high pressure wand to just quickly blow that off to the side. So that's how we use that hot hose. Again, we do use that a little sparingly. It costs you a fortune in natural gas and water. So it's not something you just want somebody out there spraying 1,000 cars in a row on a given day. So I hope that explains that. So the next question is, explain again the reason for positioning the high pressure arch in the location of the tunnel. I'm going to take the screen back real quick. Don't get too dizzy. Okay. So we wanted the chemistry from the pre-soak arch to have dwell time. We felt that the hood, windshield, roof, back window, trunk lid were areas of the car that we found very easy to clean. And the third thing is to try to keep that oscillating high pressure away from our employees who are loading the customer cars. It keeps them in a nicer environment, but also from time to time, when customers roll down their windows and they have a question, they're also not getting the overspray from that oscillating high pressure arch. But certainly we want that high pressure arch positioned before wraps, rockers, side brushes, window brushes, whatever you want to call them. But the vertical spinning brushes that are going to get into wheel wells, rocker panels, and lower parts of the car, we want that high pressure before those brushes. All right. Doing good with questions today. Thank you for your participation, everybody. So the next question is, how is the prepless system site install managed? Do you visit and provide quotation? Yes, we do. Our sales staff, Zach and myself, we do car wash tours every week, not only at our own washes, but we travel all over the country and help people find solutions that will work for them. As far as the installation side of that, we do have distribution partners all over the country that they're in washes every day installing equipment and can help out with that. The second part of this question is we already have a reclaim system but are unsure about space requirements due to a smaller basement as opposed to back room for equipment. So if I'm understanding that part of that question, you already have the reclaim, but you're unsure about the space for like the pumps and such. Our pump stands, just rough measurements, are 3.5 by 5.5 feet. And depending on if it's a single stack or double stack, it could be 4 feet high or roughly 8 feet high. Don't know that I've ever really ran into a scenario where it just absolutely could not fit it in. Sometimes we got to get creative. Some of these old back rooms that are only 8 feet wide, some of our installation partners have had to be like, all right, we're going to make a bracket on the wall. We're going to take this hydraulic unit, put it up here, and make some floor space. Certainly, there's tons of options there, but contact Zach or myself directly. We can exchange some pictures and videos, and depending on where you're at, hey, we'll get out there and see your operation, give you some suggestions. Next question is, are we keeping the high pressure wand available at the loading area or completely removing it? Since we do prep 8 to 10%, we do have a driver side and passenger side high pressure wand in the loading area. And we really, really work diligently from the operations standpoint of view to make sure that we're using that only when necessary, because you don't want to have customers asking, well, why'd that car get it and I'm not getting it? Because it's always hard to explain that. Usually when we are using that wand, like I said, New England winters, and we may be using it a little bit on each car or every other car, so I'm about 8 to 10%. But they are in the loading area. It's 2.6, 2.7 gallon a minute, 1,600 PSI with some alkaline soap and hot water. All right, next question is, we're using a foam brush to hit the backs of the vehicles by the license plate spoilers since those areas are difficult to hit with the equipment. Any solutions for this? Yes. For cleaning the back ends of the car, some large contributions to getting that done is having specific soap applicators that are turning on just to hit the backs of the cars. You may opt to use a stronger chemical just on the back of the car, but you need to provide applicators. If you go onto some of our website and view some of those videos we have, we cover the backs of the cars more than adequately with our alkaline soap. And then as you move through the process, if it's an SUV, on the screen here, you'll see that high pressure arch. There's a middle manifold over top that the nozzles are aimed towards the back windows of the SUVs, which that only turns on for the tall vehicles to get high pressure in there. The side manifolds also aim towards the rear of the car to get bumpers, license plates. And then as we go into that friction, we have very specific cuts for the cloth. Well, not cloth, we use foam, but we've worked with our suppliers to get the design that we feel works great for us. There are some cars that are always going to be challenging. The Audi Q8, the back window on that vehicle is sloped over so much that it is very difficult for the wraparounds to get it, because the bottom core of the wraparound is on the bumper, which is holding the top away a little bit, but it's not flat enough that the top brush or emitters get under the spoiler. So that is one vehicle that has been identified is a difficult one to clean. And then after the friction, we all know you get all that soap in there, you lather it up with your brushes, you got to get it out of there. So you have to have, you'll see after that buff and polish top brush, we have what we call the rear rinse. It's a spinner mounted down around 40 inches above the finished floor, aimed up under the spoilers of those SUVs. And again, we only turn that on for the SUVs, so we're not wasting water. But again, just getting impact in there and trying to get that soap out of there. We have some great videos of all those on our website. Next question would be, can you manage water pressure through the VFD, or is that set via an unloader? Yes, you can do both. We prefer to do it with the VFD. We use the unloader as the emergency blow-off, basically. For whatever reason, water, it's a positive displacement pump, so the water has to go somewhere. If it can't go out to the tunnel, it needs to unload, and it unloads back to tank. But we don't use the unloader to regulate the pressure. We control that via the VFD. And you can do that real simply just by setting the VFD to whatever hertz your desired pressure. You want 800 PSI, run that pump up to whatever hertz it needs to do 800 PSI, and that's that. Or you want to get a little more involved and maybe have several manifolds with different solenoids turning on and off via different times. Just have a pressure transducer there and have that tied to the VFD. And again, you program that VFD, say I want 800 PSI. The transducer is giving feedback to the drive, and it'll speed up and slow down to maintain that constant pressure. We've done it both ways, and we can show you examples of both those in our own washes, should you come for a tour. All right. Looks like our questions have probably wrapped up. So I just want to take this opportunity. I know taking 35 minutes out of the middle of your day is really rough, but I hope you all will walk away from this saying, you know what, that was 35 minutes well spent. I'm glad that the Hoffman Innovative team shared it with us. We're certainly happy to share it with you. The only way we feel to help our industry overcome different challenges is to share amongst one another. We share with other wash operators based right here in Albany that we compete against. It helps the industry, and overall help each and every one of us. So wrapping it up, thank you, and feel free to visit our website and give Zach or myself a call for any of your car wash solution needs. Thank you.